Brock Lesnar just crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed, and I'm calling it right now. This is the moment that changes everything in WWE. Forget what you think you know about the Beast Incarnate being a controlled weapon. Forget the narrative that Paul Heyman keeps him on a leash. Forget every single time WWE told us Brock was dangerous, but ultimately manageable. What happened on Raw tonight was pure, unfiltered carnage that left Jacob Fatu's leg bent at an angle legs should never bend, left the entire Bloodline looking helpless for the first time in years, and left every single person in that arena questioning whether they just witnessed attempted murder on live television. Brock Lesnar didn't just attack Jacob Fatu, he systematically destroyed him with a level of viciousness that has people genuinely asking if this psychopath should be arrested, fired, or locked away where he can't hurt anyone else. Let me set the scene, because the context makes this even more disturbing. Raw opened with Solo Sikoa and the Bloodline standing in the ring cutting their usual promo about dominance, about how nobody can touch them, about how they run WWE and everyone else is just living in their world. Jacob Fatu, the newest enforcer and the most dangerous member of the new Bloodline, was particularly vocal, talking about how he's the most feared Samoan wrestler in history, how his family legacy means he's untouchable, how he'll destroy anyone who challenges their authority. Standard heel stuff, the kind of promo we've heard 100 times. Then Brock's music hit. Not the entrance music, not the pyro, not the spectacle, just that audio cue that makes every single person in the building go silent because they know what's coming. Brock walked to the ring with purpose, no showboating, no playing to the crowd, just pure predatory focus locked onto Jacob Fatu like a missile locked onto its target. Paul Heyman wasn't with him, which should have been the first warning sign that something was wrong, that Brock was operating on instinct rather than strategy. The Bloodline surrounded the ring as Brock entered, clearly planning to use their numbers advantage to teach the Beast a lesson about respect. Solo, Fatu, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa, four men who have decimated every opponent put in front of them, four men who thought their combined strength would be enough to handle one angry beast. They thought wrong. Here's a trivia question for the Day One fans. What year did Brock Lesnar first win the WWE Championship, and who did he defeat to win it? Drop your answer below. What happened next was 18 minutes of the most one-sided assault I've ever witnessed in professional wrestling. Brock didn't just attack the Bloodline, he dismantled them like they were developmental talent. Tama Tonga got F5'd through the announce table within 90 seconds. Tonga Loa tried to interfere and got German suplexed so hard he bounced off the ring apron and landed in the front row. Solo Sikoa, the tribal chief himself, ate 3 consecutive German suplexes followed by an F5 onto the steel steps that left him motionless outside the ring. That left Jacob Fatu alone in the ring with a beast who hadn't even broken a sweat yet. And here's where everything went from intense to genuinely horrifying. Fatu tried to fight back, landing some of his signature strikes that would normally drop any opponent. Brock absorbed them like they were mosquito bites, his expression never changing, just staring through Fatu with those dead eyes that have haunted wrestlers for over 2 decades. Fatu hit a super kick that would have knocked out a normal human. Brock didn't even step back. Then Brock caught Fatu's leg mid-kick attempt, and you could see the exact moment when Fatu realized he'd made a catastrophic mistake. Brock held that leg, looked at it like he was examining merchandise, and then proceeded to spend the next several minutes methodically destroying it in ways that made medical professionals watching from home physically ill. Dragon screw leg whip into the corner, leg DDT on the mat, ankle lock applied with such torque that Fatu's screams could be heard over the crowd noise. Multiple knee strikes directly to Fatu's knee joint with full force behind every impact. Referees tried to stop it. Brock threw them out of the ring like garbage bags. Security rushed in. Brock put 3 security guards in Suplex City before they gave up and backed away. Even WWE officials in suits came out trying to talk Brock down, and he literally picked one up and threw him over the top rope into the crowd. Nothing and nobody could stop what was happening, and the entire arena was in shock, the kind of stunned silence you get when people can't process what they're witnessing. But the worst part, the moment that's going to be replayed in highlight reels and trauma compilations for years to come, happened when Brock dragged Fatu's lifeless body to the ring post. He positioned Fatu's injured leg around that steel post, the same move that ended so many careers throughout wrestling. The crowd started chanting, "No, no, no, no," because everyone knew what was coming. Everyone begged Brock Brock not to do it, and Brock, with the cold calculation of a serial killer, delivered the most sickening ring post figure 4 leg lock you've ever seen. The sound of Jacob Fatu's legs snapping echoed through the arena. I'm not being dramatic, I'm not exaggerating for effect. The audio was picked up by multiple cameras, and you can hear it clear as day on the broadcast. Medical staff immediately rushed the ring, but Brock held the submission for another 30 seconds, while Fatu's screams turned into this primal howl of agony that didn't even sound human anymore. When Brock finally released it and stood up, Fatu's leg was visibly horrifically damaged, bent in a way that made several ringside fans turn away in disgust. Quick question, what's the most devastating leg injury you've ever seen in wrestling? Was this or something else from WWE history? Let me know in the comments. Brock wasn't done. Even with Fatu clearly unable to continue, unable to even stand, Brock picked him up and hit one final F5, except he modified it so Fatu landed directly on his already destroyed leg. The impact was so severe that Michael Cole stopped commentating mid-sentence, and you could hear him saying, "Oh my God," under his breath in a way that wasn't scripted, wasn't playing it up for television, just genuine horror at what he was watching. When EMTs finally got into the ring to attend to Fatu, Brock grabbed a microphone and delivered one of the most chilling promos in WWE history. No yelling, no intensity, just cold, matter-of-fact delivery. "I don't care about the bloodline. I don't care about your legacy. I don't care about Solo's tribal delusions. Paul Heyman asked me to come back and handle some business, so I handled it. Jacob Fatu will never be the same after tonight, and that's not a threat, that's a diagnosis. If anyone else wants to test the beast, I'll be happy to provide the same treatment. This is my yard now. Get comfortable or get out." He dropped the microphone on Fatu's chest and walked out of the arena to complete silence. Not boos, not cheers, just thousands of people processing what they just witnessed and trying to understand how WWE allowed this to happen on live television. The aftermath has been absolute chaos. Within minutes, social media exploded with reactions from "this was the greatest thing I've ever seen" to "Brock Lesnar should be in prison." Wrestling Twitter is completely divided between people praising the realism and intensity versus people horrified by the graphic violence and worried about Jacob Fatu's real-world health. The hashtag #ArrestBrockLesnar started trending within 20 minutes, not because people think he should actually be arrested, but because the attack felt so real and so brutal that the line between wrestling and assault became impossible to see. Backstage reports are saying that Jacob Fatu was immediately taken to a local medical facility for evaluation, and early indications are that he's going to be out of action for a significant period of time. We're talking months, not weeks. There are whispers of ligament damage, possible fractures, and the kind of injuries that could legitimately alter his wrestling style permanently when he does return. This wasn't just a kayfabe injury angle. This was Brock working stiff in a way that crossed every boundary of professional safety. The Bloodline's response has been notable for its absence. Solo Sikoa hasn't posted anything on social media. The other members have been silent. Usually, after a major attack like this, you'd see immediate responses, threats of revenge, promises to make the attacker pay. The silence suggests they're either stunned, legitimately concerned about Fatu's health, or they're plotting something so significant that they don't want to tip their hand. Or, and this is the scary possibility, they're genuinely afraid of Brock Lesnar in a way they've never been afraid of anyone else. What's your prediction? Will the Bloodline get revenge on Brock, or is the beast too dangerous to touch? Comment your thoughts below. Paul Heyman's involvement in this is particularly interesting because his absence during the attack raises questions about whether he sanctioned this level of violence or whether Brock went into business for himself. Heyman has always positioned himself as the advocate who controls and directs Brock's aggression, but what happens when the weapon you've been wielding for 20 years decides it doesn't need your permission anymore? There are reports that Paul Heyman was backstage during the attack, watching on monitors, and his reaction was described as visibly shaken by people who saw him. If even Paul Heyman is scared of what Brock has become, that tells you everything you need to know about how serious this situation is.
Let's talk about the immediate booking implications, because WWE now has several major problems to solve. First, Jacob Fatu is probably out for months, which means the Bloodline loses its most intimidating enforcer right when they're in the middle of multiple major feuds. Second, Brock Lesnar has just positioned himself as an unstoppable force that no faction, no group of wrestlers, and apparently no amount of security can control. Third, and most importantly, WWE has to decide whether to lean into this ultra-violent version of Brock or try to walk it back, because they've crossed a line that might alienate a portion of their audience. The smart play from a storytelling perspective is to go all in on Brock as a final boss character, someone so dangerous that it takes multiple main eventers working together.